What's good, YouTube? Back with another reaction. We got a reaction from Pave Lover. He gives me Masked Man type vibes, narrative type vibes, more Masked Man in terms of like the editing style. Great content creator as always. Pretty fire to like. People don't get enough. Oh, look at that. I was the 1.1K. That's tough. Pretty fire to like, man. It's useful and it helps content creators that are growing like myself. If you mess with the type of content I do, it's the easiest way to support. I think the best way to support now, low key, will be joining the Discord linked in the description, because it one has all my socials, it has everything you can need involving me, and it allows you to like vet me out and my consistency. I've been posting double uploads consistently. It allows you to vet me out and see how consistent I am. What do I do? What have I been doing? And it kind of lets you track that. And if you want, talk to some people in the community, make some friends. You know what I'm saying? So for those people that's a little antisocial, you got that calm. And I really didn't mess with Discord because I thought, oh, people don't take showers, Discord mod, allegations, da da da. But like, I'm here now, and I'm here because it's gonna be a foundation for the community. I coded the bots up. I did what I needed to do. You know what I'm saying? So we straight. But that's neither here nor there. Make sure y'all boys do y'all 3 good deeds within the next 24 hours. Y'all make sure y'all drinking y'all some water, getting y'all some sleep, and getting y'all some sunlight, man. I love y'all. Y'all gotta stay healthy. You know what I'm saying? Tapping with the Real Republic. Y'all the realest. Y'all the realest to do it. You feel me? So make sure y'all stay locked in. Yeah, man. I just appreciate y'all. Keep y'all head up. Keep moving forward. Feel me? Without further ado, though, I think that's everything from the checklist. Subscribe, and we subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell here and on Twitch. But yeah, I mean, you gonna stay notified if you're in the Discord con. But without further ado, let's get straight into the video. And us off.
2025 is giving us some of the best manga I've read in a...
I don't know. This is a video I will watch in my personal time. It's not a reaction video. It's longer too. Ah. Are we watching this? Am I giving this to y'all? We're gonna unvolt it. Because the only other option for y'all boys, because I don't want to do too many narrative videos back to back, is this other stuff, but it's all about like a manga and stuff. So I'm gonna let y'all in. This type of content I watch. It's like the human aspect of being a content creator. So I'm gonna let y'all in.
Very long time.
But I just can't understand why some of them are so underrated.
We have stuff like a manga that's literally the dream of...
Mind you, I got an app on my phone that keeps me tapped in with like manga and stuff. If any of these look really good, trust and believe I'm gonna pull out my phone at. You know what I'm saying?
Every Dark Souls player ever. Or a manga where the most dangerous demon of all time is also a giant one-eyed cat. So cute! Or even a manga where a 13-year-old boy becomes the strongest hitman of all time, and every single panel is an artistic masterpiece that just makes me wanna... If any of those sound at least a little bit interesting, trust me, this is only a taste of the list I have for you. Because today, I want to show you the best underrated manga I found in 2025. My only goal with this video is to help you find a manga that you're going to love, and I will stop at nothing. Nothing. So here's the first manga. This series was made by the author of Levius, one of the most legendary fighting manga ever made. Check this out. This is the story of a guy called Jimmy. He's this totally regular dude living in the 1920s, and everything's pretty much like...
That's what I'm saying. I mess with the fact that some anime can take, like Vinland Saga and this one too, this American concept, like these American names, the American story, it's not told in Japan, unless it is. It's like it's an American in Japan. But like, you feel me? Because in Vinland Saga's case, this is not Japan. And like, I feel like a lot of people like myself who want to create an anime or want to create a manga think, let's give them Japanese names. No, if it's not taking place there, don't. You don't need to. If it's taking place in a fantasy world, you write the rules of like what's considered normal. But I just like that it goes both ways. Feel me?
You would expect from the 1920s. There's old cars, there's old buildings, there's vampires who turn their arms into swords.
Brother.
Wait.
That sounds tough though. Unsponsored. This movie was let me not say no about Disney on the screen. It might be able to do something to my video. That video was like mediocre, not gonna lie. It was kind of tough though.
One night, Jimmy is chilling on his rooftop until he almost falls off the building. Suddenly, a little girl called Lily grabs him and throws him back. Jimmy's like, hey, thanks for saving my life. Here's my favorite sandwich. Lily's like, damn, this is the best sandwich in my life. And Jimmy's like, so how did you throw me all the way back here? I mean, that shouldn't be possible. Whoa, Okay. As it turns out, Lily is a werewolf working for a government agency that wants to end the vampires, which is really cool. But here's the problem. She only has 10 years to live. And if she wants her freedom, she's going to have to destroy all the vampires as fast as possible. And that is exactly what Jimmy is going to help her with. This is Nightlight Hounds. But now the question is, what's so special about this manga? I mean, it's pretty much your regular vampire story, right? Well, the truth is, it's actually a really unique take on a vampire story. Let me show you what I mean. First, there's this group trying to destroy the vampires called the...
Hold on, not only is this authentic, look at the background. He's not hiding what he has here. I like the lighting setup, one. Kind of like how it is back in the dorm where everything's like more compact, so you can see the purple lighting from that on. I mean, I think you still can see it a little bit, but like, I like the lighting, and I like that he just got his joint in the back right here. I can't tell this. I'm assuming bleach from the vibrant hair colors and the color of the manga. I can only assume like Blue Exorcist or something up here, like JJK, something a little darker, maybe Soul Eater. I know it's word.
Take on a vampire story. Let me show you what I mean. First, there's this group trying to destroy the vampires called the Night Hounds. Then there's the vampires that came from Europe to America and created a gang. There's the different vampire factions and all of the members, which is a lot of members. There's the fact that the gangs pretty much control this entire city. Like in the first chapter, one of the members actually tries to escape but gets caught, and yeah, it doesn't end too well for him. But then there's also the way everything looks.
Okay, so I typed vampire into Google and it's pretty much all these, stereotypical vampires, right? And if I type manga vampires, it's kind of the same thing, right? But now let's compare these vampires to the ones in Nightlight Hounds. First of all, they don't just burn in sunlight. That's the first thing. You can swap between vampire form and human form. They have a bunch of cool powers like the arm sword thing I showed you before. They're basically evolved versions of these really boring vampires we always think about. Okay, but now if I look at werewolves, it's... yeah. Pretty much the same thing. Almost every werewolf here is just a wolf walking on two legs, which is just so lame. But now, check out the way Lily looks when she transforms. I mean, that looks sick.
Listen, I've honestly never been a huge fan of vampires or werewolves. It's just not really my thing. But this is the first time I actually had fun while reading a vampire story. All these elements together create such an awesome atmosphere. And it genuinely makes me so mad that we barely know anything about the werewolves and vampires because I just want to know more. Another thing I love is the fact that the main character is literally just a regular dude who somehow ends up caught in a war between vampire hunters and gangs. And this changes the story pretty significantly. Like, look at this.
Okay, so this is a scene where Jimmy's pretending to be part of this vampire gang while he's actually working for the gang that's hunting the vampires, right? And right now...
It's interesting, too, because if vampires still have their abilities, they can probably turn people, and being a human means he might be, he might have to make that choice one day. But also, like, most mythical creatures have a way to, like, turn you. So it's like, him being human is like...
I'm at this part where he's completely alone with the most terrifying depiction of a vampire I've ever seen in my entire life, probably. Like, you can't hear it, but I'm reading with some scary music in the background, and I am genuinely screaming internally. Why am I doing this to myself?
We need to talk about the art. One of the things that made Levius legendary is how freaking awesome it looked. And you can really see that in Nightlight Hounds because the art is insane. Here are some of my favorite examples.
Look at the amount of detail in these eyes. Look at how awesome this character design is. Look at how beautiful the environment is.
I think that what I should have said in this moment was, look at how freaking beautiful every single panel looks. This manga is absolutely really gorgeous, and the author is pretty much good at drawing everything. I remember reading Levius when I was a kid and genuinely loving it, so it makes me really happy to find the same feeling of excitement once again, and to share it so many years later. Hey man, this is a really good, underrated recommendation, but it's not really my thing, to be honest. Sorry, who are you? Oh, I'm you, but in a cartoon version, and also way better looking. Hey, well, that's super rude, but let me check what I have. Okay, listen. The next manga on the list was actually recommended by the legendary author of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Have a look at that.
Unsponsored gang. On that layup like that'd be tough. Hey. Fuck. Talk to me.
The first thing that you need to know is that the story is set in this really dystopian version of Detroit where everything is pretty much the worst. We follow a kid called Akio, and in the first chapter of the manga, his mother sells him to a guy who turns him into one of the deadliest assassins ever, which basically means that he will never, ever, ever have a normal life. One day, he's busy doing his, assassin stuff until he meets...
Well, Keith, that's interesting because it kind of implies, and those are black people, I'm assuming, based off the way they were inked in, but it implies that the way we are, most of the anime we see, like shonen and stuff, besides like Dragon Ball, are this Japan-based joint. So it's like we're drawn to that. It's either that Japan-based thing or it's like a fantasy world. We're drawn to that because it's not our normal. So anything, any aspect of it is automatically like interesting off rip. So it's interesting that these authors, knowing that like they're bestsellers, even though we intake anime crazy as Americans, they're getting a lot of profit from where they're from. So it's like it's interesting to think that maybe some of these authors intentionally, like Vinland Saga, for example, are based off America because that's something. The same reaction we have to the Japanese culture here is the same reaction the Japanese people have to the culture that they're pulling from America and other like histories, and allows them to add more depth to their story.
Lynn, a blind lady who works at a local diner. But despite having a very difficult life, she is the first person who is kind to Akio. So for the first time in his life, this boy gets to know how it feels to have someone who cares about him and decides that he wants a different life. And now his objective is to save Lynn and escape with him. And that means fighting every single person who gets in his way. This is Smother Me. But here's the question. What makes this manga so good that one of the best authors of all time thinks you should read it? First reason is probably, most definitely, the art style. Let me show you.
Okay, so right now there's this moment where Akio is fighting and he turns around after absolutely obliterating these two dudes. And the thing that really stands out to me is that his face is completely covered in shadows. I honestly think that if this moment was drawn in a more, realistic style like Berserk, One Punch Man, Vagabond, whatever, it wouldn't hit as hard. And I'm obviously not saying that this is better, okay? But what I am saying is that it's different in a way that just works.
And you know what? As a gift from
the author is using their art to indicate a certain style and convey a certain message, which is very important as an author, whether it be a mangaka who is drawing or an author who is writing a book.
To you, here are some of my favorite panels in this manga.
I'm hearing you.
Listen, I've read a lot of manga and I've never seen anything like this. It doesn't just look pretty. The art style actually fits the story super well. The action scenes also look incredible.
Okay, so I'm at this part where there's a fight between Akio and this dude called Elephant, and both of them have completely different strengths, right? Akio's super fast, but he has a very fragile body, whereas Elephant is slower, but he can kind of one-shot anyone. And I think you need to see this. Dude, every single panel in this fight is an instant banger.
I've read so many action manga and seen so many different crazy weapons, but I've never seen a character use wire before, which is just such a shame because it looks so cool. And yeah, I just showed you one of my favorite fights in this series, but the truth is,
I think he's more well-versed with manga. I don't read manga, I read manhwa, which is like, that difference may not be as like noticeable when you hear me say it out loud, but it's two different cultures that they come from, different art styles, different characters, and what I read is mostly colored, so like it always is gonna hit like that to me because they can add those lines and have it hit more. And you can argue that it's more impressive that these people could do that in black and white without as much color, but I'm used to seeing it elevated. So the stuff that he's saying is like, oh, I've seen that in the cultivation, the wuxia, the hold on, what's it called? The Miram Tales, stuff like that. So it's like, this is interesting to think that this is like kind of changing the manga sphere.
Every single fight in this manga is a masterclass. When I started Smother Me, I really thought it was going to be this simple assassin story. What I actually got was this emotional journey of a kid trying to escape this world they have no business being a part of. The story is brutal and dark, but it's also weirdly beautiful. You know what the best part is? If you don't have time to read a manga that's over 100 chapters, which is totally normal by the way, Smother Me is only 15 chapters long. And yes, part of me definitely wishes there was more because I loved it so much, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, this sounds good. We're definitely getting closer. Do you have something a little less dark?
Yeah, for sure. Let me check. Yeah. Okay, listen, I need to warn you right now. This is absolutely what.
This is interesting, like stylistically, because a thing creators often run into, even me now, I'm talking to you guys, but like I'm in a room by myself. I'm streaming. Nobody's in chat. You know? So as a creator, when you make these stylistic effects and these choices, you're having faith that there's an audience there to like experience it and to get that artistic value, whether that be the comedic timing in your jokes or like other pieces of your narrative. So it's just interesting. Like, I'm not gonna say it's corny. Like, there are people who might look at that and be like, ah, look at it do da, da, da. No, I just think it's impressive that like you did that, like maybe one take, maybe two takes. You know, who knows? You never know. That's what makes it such a masterpiece. It's a
One of the
guessing
weirdest
game.
mangas I've read in a very, very long time. And the crazy part is, it's so underrated that I had no idea it existed up until a few weeks ago. Check this out.
While most drivers go from point A to
Unsponsored, man. We're unsponsored by British Motor Wheels. It remind me of the cat from Seven Deadly Sins.
Okay, so imagine you're
It's
in this
still dark,
massive
by the
city
way.
that's
It's
kind
almost
of
eight
like
something.
New York or London, for example. Everything looks super pretty,
Everything
the buildings
you're
are
reading is
tall,
dark.
kids are playing in parks, but in the middle of all this, there's a tiny abandoned apartment. And in this apartment lives a group of 3 famished children who have absolutely nothing. One day, their neighbor decides that for some reason, it would be a really good idea to summon a demon whose only purpose is to eat everything. And I genuinely mean everything. This monster is called Yatara, and the problem is that children just happen to be its favorite meal. So it easily finds the group, and right as it's about to feast, it gets this absolutely insane idea. Instead of eating them in this state, it's going to take good
Raise
care
them
of
up.
them until they're healthier. This is Yatara, and it doesn't necessarily
This is bad because like this is not a unfamiliar trope for like a demon thing to like, you know, oh I'm gonna fatten you up until you're nice and you know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
sound like the craziest story, but trust me, making the demon the main character is actually such a cool idea for a few reasons. For example, there's a narrator for Yatara's thoughts, and I usually hate narrators because
So I'm trying to think. Like I'm thinking like Askeladd and Villain Saga where like the villain is like sheltering you or something. But they really have bad intentions. There's this other manhwa I was reading. That's like a dude with the system and the demon trying to take over his body because he was like, oh, if I die here, like I'll do anything. And if anyone's listening, help me like get my revenge on this dude. So when he's reborn, the thing is reborn and tries to like take him over, but it can't. So it's like, okay, bet I'm gonna let you get all your EXP, your haha kiki keys in with this body, and then I'm eventually gonna take it over. So there's cases like that, and I think those are interesting. They're far.
I'd rather see what's happening instead of someone actually explaining it to me. But in this manga, we know exactly what terrible things Yatara is thinking, while the children are absolutely clueless. And that makes everything way scarier. Like, there's this scene where Yatara is thinking
Like
about
eerie.
the best way to eat them, while the kids are just chilling there. There are also some genuinely absurd moments, like this scene where Yatara destroys the top floor of an entire building and steals billions just to take care of these kids. It eats people, it grows massive tentacles, it passes through walls, it stores endless amounts of random things in its stomach. It senses every single thing about its prey just by existing. This thing has literally never let a meal escape. For some reason, this demon also looks like something you'd want as a plushie. Like, don't tell me this isn't the cutest thing you've ever seen. Come on. Yatara is a very weird main character, but the thing that's even weirder is that it gets some decent character development.
Okay, so I'm reading this part where Yatara is playing rock, paper, scissors with one of the kids, and guys, I'm kind of confused. Sometimes I feel like it just wants to eat them, sometimes I feel like it's actually getting attached to them, so now I have no idea what's happening, and I'm kind of losing my mind.
Not gonna lie, I definitely wanted to see what would happen with this emotionless monster that only cares about eating. But seeing Yatara actually start caring about
Either he was recording or like doing a live stream. I feel like just checking out like manga and then just reading them through.
these kids,
He's wearing the
I don't
same
know,
shirt
I never
and all
expected
that.
to get character development for this freaking demon, and I hate to say that, but it kind of hits different. And the fact that I have no idea where this is heading is sort of my favorite thing about this manga now. Dude, this is insane, but I actually kind of like it. I feel like we're really close to something perfect right now. Yeah, I get that. It's a weird one, but you know, let me check what else I have. Okay, you know what? Just for you, I'm gonna show my favorite manga that I've recently read. This is an underrated shonen that genuinely has so much potential.
Shonen? Okay. So it's like this dark vibe.
Somewhere far, far away, there's a huge castle.
Oh, but it's
In this
magic, though.
castle
Hello.
lives Zemu, a wizard of the 7 colors, which basically means that he's powerful as fuck. One day, Zemu finds an injured kid, so he heals him. But when he finally wakes up, the boy has no idea who he is where he came from, or what happened to him. The only thing he knows is that he's the last survivor and prince of the Flying Country, which is basically this extremely powerful nation that just disappeared because of the Kaihen. Which brings me to my first question. What the heck is a Kaihen? Well, the problem is that even though it's in the freaking title of the manga, everyone's answer is pretty much
I don't know.
which is kind of concerning because there is a literal prophecy predicting that the prince is going to destroy the entire world. But luckily, Zemu says, not on my watch. And now they're on a mission to become stronger, recover his memory, and figure out what the hell this Kaihen thing actually is. Let me tell you right now, Kaihen Wizards is the kind of manga where you're going to feel extremely lost. Every single chapter, the story just threw new information at me that made everything way more confusing. But weirdly enough, that's actually the reason this manga's world building is absolutely awesome. Let me show you what I mean.
Okay, so this is the castle, right? And at some point, Zemu tells us how big it is. So we're talking 101 gardens, 777 rooms, and somehow even more doors than that, which didn't really make sense to me until I saw that there were doors on the freaking ceiling for some reason. But just to kind of grasp the insanity of this place, check out what's inside some of these doors. This is the prince's bedroom, and it's basically a single bed in the middle of this huge empty space. I mean, I could genuinely never sleep in a place like that. Impossible. This is a garden where you can change the season with magic. Bam, autumn. Bam, winter. Bam, spring. This is a library where the bookcases go all the way up to the ceiling, which is already kind of impressive until you realize that it's one of the smallest libraries in this entire place. Are you kidding me? And this is a room full
Magic
of
can do
doors.
so many things.
Okay, they're not all good, okay?
And it's not just the environments. No. The characters get super quirky.
This is a giant clown snake that works for Zemu, and I just don't understand why one of the most powerful wizards of all time has such a goofy looking pet. I mean, I absolutely love it. There are humans, there are demi-humans, there are animal people, there are dragon people, and I'm pretty sure that I'm forgetting a lot of other stuff. I've been reading this for a little while now, and do you know what's even crazier than this castle? The fact that there's a huge world outside of this castle that gets crazier and more interesting with every single chapter.
I swear, reading a manga where every time you learn something new, you have like 10 more questions is honestly super fun. I don't know if you've ever seen Spirited Away, but Kaihen Wizards really reminds me of that movie, which is good because I freaking love that movie. This manga also handles magic way differently than most manga.
Okay, so I'm going through a couple of series just to make sure of something, but yeah, in almost every shonen, the characters can pretty much throw limitless techniques, and it's not really a big deal.
But look at what happens in Kaihen Wizards.
See, that's important. Hold on. Oh, I had to crack my back. It was bothering me. That's important because for the book I want to create, I want to have it to be where like stamina is an important factor. Like in some show, like for example, Fairy Tail, stamina. Oh, I'm out of magic. I'm cooked. Stamina is an important thing, but not all shows stress that. And they do, but it'll be like after days and days of fighting. And then not all the time is it like, oh, we have to make calculations to use magic. It's like we can just do it innately.
Wizards.
This is a scene where Zemu helps the prince practice, and basically he needs to keep his fingers close to a bunch of grass and control his mana without destroying the grass. Pretty simple. Zemu makes it very clear that he should not be practicing anywhere else but this training field, even if it is super simple.
We later discover that people who have the ability to use mana are super rare, and even something as simple as a wizard taking on an apprentice is a massive deal. Sure, there are a couple of really cool spells here and there, like this lady that can basically hide anywhere, or the main character who can basically use the Sharingan. I'm sorry, there is no way this is not. But that's not what makes the power system good. To me, it's the fact that this manga treats magic like this really dangerous thing, which is super refreshing and unique. I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea who the author was before this, which is kind of crazy because apparently they've been drawing manga for over 20 years. And it really shows because the art looks stunning. But instead of telling you, let me prove it to you.
Here's this thing that the author does with shadows around the main character's eyes. Can you see how terrifying this looks? Okay, now look at this panel and tell me it doesn't go hard. You're lying. You're lying. I mean, in general, the design of these characters is pretty awesome. I mean, I'd say my favorite is definitely Zemu because it's a huge win for characters with green hair. Finally, again, let's go.
The author can draw literally anything. Characters, powers, environments, weird creatures, they all look so good. Dude, I'm telling you, we're so close. We're so close to the perfect manga. Okay. You know what? I didn't want to do this, but I have one more idea. This manga is not even on my list. It was written by the author of the legendary manga Blame, and it's easily one of the most underrated things I've seen in years.
Lilo and Stitch is a global phenomenon.
Unsponsored. I heard this. Oh, hold on. When you're on screen, you can't say nothing. Hold on. Heard the movie was Bonds, gang. I ain't gonna lie. Talk to me though.
So, imagine you live in this medieval kingdom where an evil sorcerer destroys the king, takes his place, steals the princess, and puts her on the highest floor of this massive tower that's absolutely packed with the most intense magical creatures. And every single person who tries to save her gets absolutely annihilated. And that's where you come in. Your name is Yuva. You're a regular guy, you're chilling, you're helping out on the farm by feeding these goddamn weird alien chickens. But then, they choose you to save the princess, and of course, you do the most logic and intelligent thing. You show up with nothing but a helmet and a shield. Well done. Well done. And as you climb the tower, you realize that this whole place is basically a massive maze where you could get jumped by insane magical creatures at any second. Good luck. This is Tower Dungeon, and it seems pretty basic, right? In that case, what makes this manga so underrated?
He made another video about this. I remember seeing this in the thumbnail. He was like, a manga that does like the dungeon joint, right?
What's actually good about it? Listen, I hate using this word, but this series has such a good vibe. You need to see this.
So, this is the main crew. We have Yuva, the strong but clumsy warrior, Lily-san, the powerful but
That's what I was saying, strong, because he's carrying all that straw.
angry mage, and Eliquo, the intelligent but super stressed out leader of the squad. And there's a scene where Eliquo is really nervous, so he messes up the map that the team needs to follow. And check this out, Lily-san tells him, if something's wrong, you need to tell us so we can deal with it together.
And a little bit later,
So they basically just beat this group of guards, and can you see how they're hugging? Not only is this really wholesome, I love it because you can see how much they've evolved as a group. Dude, I'm reading this while listening to a medieval playlist, and this is genuinely one of the best reading experiences I've had in such a long time.
there's a certain strong feeling you get when you're part of a team, like maybe playing a sport or video games or whatever. And I've seen so many fantasy series that try but fail to pull off this feeling. In Tower Dungeon, you have the epic fights, sure, but you also have the moments where everyone is just chilling together, and those are actually my favorite moments of this series. This manga somehow manages to be both cozy and epic at the same time, which is awesome. The art style looks really different from what I'm used to, but that's not the best thing about it. The author is actually so good at using the show don't tell technique. Let me show you. I hate myself so much for this. Try to imagine the biggest tower you can think of. Okay, now imagine a tower that's 100 times bigger, okay? And now imagine a tower that's 100 times bigger and the tower that was 100 times bigger. The author could easily have some random character say something like, the tower is so tall that it reaches above the clouds, or something like that. I'm not a writer, okay? But instead, they decide to show you several panels where it's progressively zooming out until you realize how freaking insane this tower actually is. And I cannot even explain to you how freaking much I love that. But I think that the secret sauce of this manga is the fact that it's just Dark Souls, but in a manga.
Okay, so I'm at this part where they're fighting some kind of giant mucus insect, right? And the group had to bring salt, which is the insect's weakness. They had to figure out a strategy, and even though they have all of this put in place, they pretty much fail. But at the last second, they decide that Yuva is going to drop from all the way up a pillar and jump into the insect with the salt.
Which can like hurt.
And it works.
The fights aren't just defeat the monster by hitting it as many times as possible. Every single battle feels like the characters are the underdogs, which makes every victory feel so satisfying. Plus, the fights are super short, which makes them even more intense. Every single one of these manga is a banger. They're really different from anything that's out there, and almost...
It's interesting. That was interesting. I'm not really heavy into like the manga verse, so that was a cool little video to get us tapped in. And if you're into the manga verse, you know what I'm saying, culture me, you know what I'm saying, put me on. Let me know down in the comments, and hop in the Discord. Let me know what you thought about that video, how you reacted to it, you know what I'm saying. But that was a video from Pave Lover, very good. Like, so Mass Man does more anime content, and it's all very like well edited and connected, kind of ranty, but it's done well enough for you to not feel like someone's just ranting at you. Pave Lover does the same thing, but with manga. So, hope y'all enjoyed. Y'all know what time to find me. As always, it was your boy Sly sliding on your timeline. And yeah, gonna be it for me. Peace.